There you go.
timing.
Joe, look
There
at
you
that.
are.
Yeah,
They're man of the hour.
We're on the record.
I think you earned your keep tonight, Adam.
That's it. Thank you.
Council agenda, Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, regular Township Council meeting of May 14th, 2019.
Posting of notice. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Law by filing the notice in the office of the Township Clerk and by posting the meeting notice on the bulletin board at the Municipal Building on December 19th, 2018, where it has remained posted since that date. A legal notice appeared in the Daily Record and the Newark Star Ledger on December 27, 2018, and was forwarded by fax to other local newspapers and local radio stations on December 19, 2018. Council meetings are videotaped and aired on Public Access Channel 21 at 7 p.m. on Sundays and Wednesdays, and are also available for viewing at www.parsippany.net.
Please rise for flag salute. Mrs. Peterson, if you would.
I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call.
Mr. DePiero,
Here.
Ms. Grignani,
Present.
Ms. McCarthy,
Here.
Ms. Peterson,
here.
Mr. Carriffy.
Here.
Also in attendance are CFO Ann Cucci, Business Administrator Keith Kasmark, Mayor Michael Soriano, Township Attorney Jim Lott, and Township Clerk Colette Madden. Council President, we have a quorum. You may begin.
Thank you. Upcoming meetings, June 11th, 7 p.m. agenda meeting, June 25th, 7 p.m. regular meeting. Approval of minutes, presentations, reports. Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Starting off that Memorial Day Parade and ceremony on May 27th. The ceremony will take place at Veterans Park and start at 10 a.m. The Master of Ceremonies will be your own Councilman Michael DiPiero. The parade will proceed afterwards on North Beverwick Road. That will start at noon. And for those that live in the Lake Hiawatha area and don't mind getting up early, at 9 o'clock in the morning, there's a special presentation at the Vietnam Memorial down by the swim club in Lake Hiawatha. Okay. Also,
Just to
Yeah.
fill in there, Mary, if I may, the two residents from Lake Hiawatha were killed in Vietnam.
right. Now, there will be a Parsippany Trap, Neuter, Vaccinate, and Release workshop hosted here in Town Hall, but we're working in conjunction with a group called People for Animals. This is Saturday, June 8th at 2:30 here in Town Hall. Also, recycling is becoming a big, big issue, not just for doing things the green way, which is thinking more for the environment, but also thinking the green way that it's financially smart and fiscal policy. And there's going to be a lot more coming to this in Parsippany. It is becoming increasingly difficult to find people to take our recycled, commingled, contaminated items. We spoke about this last month. Something that can help you with it is an app. Okay? The app is called, it's called Recycle Coach. Okay? Yeah, that's right. Look it up. Recycle Coach. It's available on Apple and Google Play. It ties you in directly into the township's recycling schedule, tied exactly to the area you live in. If you have questions related to recycling and how to recycle and what you can and cannot recycle, just for the simplicity's sake, water bottles. The water bottle is recyclable. The cap and the ring are not. And that just makes it cost us more money to send out recycled, commingled items. And this is something we need to work on as a township. There's going to be a lot of education forthcoming. This is not going to be a short-term project. It's going to be a long-term project, because if we recycle properly, we can save ourselves some serious tax dollars. So please download that app. There will be more forthcoming on that as well. June 10th is our next master plan public workshop. It's at Parsippany High School. That is starting at 6 p.m. Anyone who has not attended a master plan workshop, we had one, last year, right? At Parsippany Hills High School. We're now going to start on this side of the town as well. It is a collaborative effort. Inputs are needed from people all over, including youth. I actually just spoke to 3 high schoolers that will be attending that today. I spoke with them today. So they will be there for the June 10th meeting as well. But it is important that we get people's input, no matter where you are. This is about parks. This is about religious institutions, businesses. Where do we want recreation? How do we want to deal with traffic, development, the future? We haven't had a master plan, a new master plan. We've updated since the 70s. Back in the 70s, I was 4 years old and I had hair. Okay, this is something we definitely need to update. So please, everyone attend. Also, thank you to insurance companies. Okay, and thank you that we have insurance here in the township. The sign, the Pride in Parsippany sign that was on Vale Road and Route 46 was taken out by very severe storms, which is convenient because it was maybe about 2 months before that we were looking and thinking of replacing the sign because it needed to be updated. It was very dirty. It didn't look right. But Mother Nature saw it to take care of that for us, so the insurance company paid for a new sign for us, so that's good. I love when the taxpayers save money on that. You may notice that on the sign we do not have noted on there about the Little League team from 2012 that went to the Little League World Series. That is going to be put in what I think is the most appropriate place at the Little League East complex that we have there. We're going to put a plaque honoring that team so it's there forever so that even the weather can't take it out. We have many sports teams in town and many sports individuals that win individual things, and if we start putting it on the sign, we're going to run out of room. We've had football teams, we've had wrestling teams, we had a cheerleading team that won a national one last year, so I want to put it in the appropriate spots. Also, it's important to note the same baseball team, Little League baseball team, if you walk down here on Town Hall, we have their jersey hung up, as well as a group photo of them as well. So we'll always remember them. Also, June 11th is our next town hall meeting, as the council president said. We will be presenting a proclamation for Gun Safety Month, okay? You are encouraged to wear orange for that day. Okay, Gun Safety Month is June 7th, but we will be doing this at our council meeting the following week on the 11th. It's being rescheduled, I believe, because of the primary, right?
Yeah. The meeting was originally scheduled because of the primary now.
Because of the primary. Okay, and second to last, penultimate thing, we have a free shredding day here in Parsippany Town Hall. It's Saturday, June 1st. That's from 9 o'clock to 12 o'clock. Bring your paper, your personal papers that you want shredded. That takes too much time to do it, and it'll get shredded for you right here in our parking lot here in Town Hall at no charge at all. Okay, so please bring that. This past Friday, we had a lot of activity, for lack of a better term, and anxiety here in the township related to our high schools and the potential for harm. I am not going to report on that myself. I instead have called a professional this is his gig, and he's very good at it. I'd like to call up Chief Andrew Miller. I'd like you to present to the township an after-action report for the township and what happened here Friday. Thank you, Chief.
No,
No.
Khaled?
Khaled's not here.
He just stepped out. Here he is.
There he is.
That was on. I promise that was
The
on.
man behind the door.
Did it? Sometimes it takes a few seconds to.
Warm up.
Oh, there we go.
This was on.
Mayor, thank you for the opportunity to come up and address the council. And before I do that, I do want to recognize Officer Ferguson. I apologize for calling you out, but I want to recognize Officer Ferguson, who's been with Parsippany Police for 4 years. Next month, he's deploying active duty, going overseas.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
Yeah, and I thank you too, because you're an excellent cop, doing a great job here in Parsippany. You have a 3-year-old and a 10-year-old, so it's a tall order. It's a big deployment. So I thank you for your service here in Parsippany and for going overseas. I know it's corny. We're not supposed to do that with military, but I wanted to recognize you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And be safe, brother.
Yes.
Be safe.
Yeah, so last Friday morning on May 10th, we had 2 school lockdowns within 20 minutes of each other. This was when students were arriving at school, the most critical time, complicated with traffic and parents and everything else. So the first call that came in was limited information that we had from Denville, Morris County VOTAC. And with limited information, we go right high on the response scale. So we reacted. We weren't called, we were just notified, but with limited information and nothing more at that time, we went into our strategic protecting of the area. So I want to commend, who's not here, but in public, Lieutenant Pomeroy, who was the shift commander at the time. He swiftly jumped into action. He deployed officers to the Denville VOTAC area, created a staging area. I was in constant communication with the District Superintendent, Dr. Sargent, and District Security Director, Lieutenant Lefferts. Officers were rapidly deployed to the area, including the rifle officers. We have approximately 20 rifle officers. I think Officer Ferguson, your rifle officer. A lot of additional training with the department.
Yeah.
So tactical training, a lot of shooting. And what we've been doing over the last year and a half more extensively is learning the entire town. The rifle officers here at Town Hall, getting into the building, certainly all the schools and the businesses, in addition to the tactics. So the rifle officers, rather than having a traditional CERT or SWAT team, they are assigned to patrol and investigative division. They have their rifles that they train with constantly. They're out on patrol, they're in the vehicles. And Lieutenant Pomeroy very quickly assembled what we call a strike team. And these rifle officers were directed to and stationed at a location close enough to VOTAC if they had to react or they were called for backup. In addition to that, the SROs went into swift action, and the Class 3s. The Class 3s, as you know, are retired police officers. They go through SRO training. It was great to have them because they knew exactly how to react, and they deployed themselves before they could even be directed over the radio by Lieutenant Pomeroy to the elementary schools in that area. So the social media releases were coordinated, very coordinated between the police and the school district, which is incredibly important. The kids in the classrooms are getting the information out over their cell phones and Snapchat quicker than we can ever get it out. So to stay out in front of disinformation or inaccurate information is extremely difficult. And it has happened in the past where inconsistent or missed messages are going out between the police and the Board of Ed. It's innocently done in the sense that the Board of Ed might be getting their information from the schools. We're on the outside. But over the past couple of years, we've coordinated very, very effectively to get out in front of the Snapchatting and all the other devices that are used by the kids in the classroom to get that information out on social media consistently to quell whatever fears there may be. First what happened was the VOTAC turned out to be a verbal threat, went into lockdown. Within 20 minutes of that, Parsippany Hills, from a comment that was made in reaction to the VOTAC, a comment was made within Parsippany Hills, and that went into lockdown as well. You may have seen a video that was on New Jersey 12 for about 20 minutes, or actually a little bit longer. It was up there for maybe some hours. There was a student at Parsippany Hills who threw a chair at the ground floor glass window to escape the classroom. So the glass was broken by the chair. The student, pardon my back, I should be addressing everybody. The student went through the broken window and sustained some cuts, some minor cuts, was quickly treated at the scene and then transported to the hospital. The video that was taken by a student in the classroom is in violation of school district policy. They're not allowed to video and certainly not allowed to put it out. So quickly the school board attorney did a cease and desist order. and had that video pulled off the media. An extensive, what we call an after-action review, was done by Parsippany Police, where all involved commanders and supervisors, including myself, school district security lieutenant, assemble in my conference room, and we go over every single detail, be it the radio, the response, critiques, criticisms, whatever else it is. The same thing was done on Monday morning with the school district superintendent, Dr. Sargent, on their end, Morris County Prosecutor's Office, Homeland Security as well. And what resulted from the after-action reviews was everything was done according to plan, what has been trained for. It was seamless, it was coordinated. It was very, very impressive how it was handled. And certainly in a complicated situation where two different schools, limited information, traffic, something is going to go wrong. And in this particular case, everything went very, very well. I'm happy to report that. And I do want to personally thank the mayor, because when I became chief, in lieu of having a very expensive CERT or SWAT team, the idea was to create a rifle team within the department, get these officers out assigned in various patrol shifts, days, nights, investigative division detectives, and it does require a lot of extra training. Most of it we have been able to do within Parsippany with our range officers. So we have built that program. It's very, very cost effective, almost in the sense it doesn't cost us anything, because it's not a team that has to be supported. Additionally, with the Class 3s, they have worked out exceptionally well. That they are, the three are so well trained. We got very lucky because there's not a large pool of them. Hopefully they will increase in size throughout the state. We're coordinating with the Police Training Commission to get a list of retired officers in the state so we could kind of coordinate getting the information out. But again, I thank you for having this program, because it proved to be very, very effective and supportive. The investigation is continuing in the sense of whether or not charges are being filed, so we're working with the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. But as a chief, I'm very, very proud of my officers, and this is an example of why it's necessary to constantly train and coordinate between the Board of Ed and let the township know what we're doing and budgeting appropriately. So I appreciate that. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions on those incidents?
I have just one. What's the difference between a SWAT team and a rifle team?
SWAT team is actually, it's Morris County Sheriff's Department, and I think Council President, you could speak better on this than I can, but they do have their own team.
Yeah, the CERT team is a fully trained SWAT team that the Sheriff's Emergency Response Team. In other words, if an entry needed to be made into the school, they're a trained team that would make those entries. They do a whole vast different things. The rifle team would be basically for, would set up a perimeter, may make an entry if needed with the long guns, if they had to go in, where before the CERT team got there, if there was an active shooter, they could go in right away, and they would have the capability of having the long guns with them. The CERT team would be where it would be if they were there or it was a prolonged thing, let's say it was a 6-hour, an 8-hour event, the CERT team would coordinate that. And I'll give you an example. When I commanded the CERT team, we had 35 officers on our CERT team alone. So our CERT team was bigger than most of the police departments in Morris County. So.
Thank you.
I do have one question and one thing to add about the bus drivers. I heard something very positive about the transportation department bus drivers here in Parsippany, and actually I heard positive things around the county. There's a certain amount of training and direction that they've been given in what to do in these situations. And I mean, everyone was on point, but the bus drivers were sort of, in one report I read, were singled out as being on point and doing exactly what was required to do. So I commend them. I commend the teachers, the students, the administrators, Dr. Sargent, and especially our SROs and our police officers that were in the schools that really worked very hard and diligently on this. I'm very grateful that they're all there doing their jobs.
Yes, thank you. And to add some detail with the buses, there were 5 buses en route to Morris County VOTEC with Parsippany students, part-time and full-time, when this occurred, and they had the wherewithal, the bus drivers, when they were alerted to this, that they quickly rerouted and they went to the assembly area, be it the Parsippany Hills parking lot, where they stayed, and the SROs assisted with getting the students off the buses into the school. So there are 3 bus companies in Parsippany. There's the Board of Ed and then 2 private. There is a director of transportation that oversees this function, and again, in coordination with Dr. Sargent and the police department, specifically Lieutenant Lefferts, the director did an excellent job getting the information out, and the drivers themselves, again, like the Class 3s and SROs, they knew exactly what to do before being told, and my officers as well. They started redeploying. So there's a lot of teamwork going on in this town, and it takes a lot of communication and effective communication, and that is happening. And this is a demonstration of that. It went very, very well.
Okay.
So,
Chief, thank you very much.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Council President, that concludes my report.
Okay, Township Council, any council members have anything?
No, this time.
Mr. Lott?
Thank you, Mr. President. I have several closed session items as noted on the agenda, and in accordance with Councilmember DiPiero's suggestion, we did manage to reduce some of the length of the ordinance with respect to filming, and that'll be introduced, I think, at tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Mr. Casmore?
Thank you, Council President. All I have tonight is very happy. We closed our auction, our online auction with GovDeals this afternoon, and with the 213 items that were up for auction, we reaped a benefit in value of $62,563. So that'll be revenue coming into the town for surplus items that the township no longer requires. That's all.
Thank you. Mr. Madden?
Just one item, Council President. As everyone already may know, that the primary election will be on June 4th. Polls will be open from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. If anyone has any questions with regards to their polling locations, you can feel free to contact our office, and we can provide that information for you. That's all I have, Council President. Thank you.
Thank you. Township officers, committees, reports?
I have, I'm making a motion for Michelle Munn to be appointed to the Historic Preservation Advisory Committee.
Second?
Filling a vacant position.
Okay, so motion made by Ms. McCarthy, and what is the individual's name?
Michelle Munn,
Can you spell that?
M-U-N-N.
Perfect. Okay, so motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes. She'll be notified.
Okay, thank you. Okay, bids taken, none to be taken. May 21st, 1 new Diamond Z horizontal grinder or approved equivalent for the Parks and Forestry Department. Quotations, proposals, qualifications, none. This time I'll entertain a motion to open up the public hearing.
Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open.
If you come up, please state your name and address. Be given 5 minutes.
Okay. My name is Bob Venezia. I live at 102 Brooklawn Drive. At the last regular meeting about a month ago, I proposed that the council pass an ordinance that would prohibit Parsippany from entering into a payment in lieu of taxes or pilot agreement with any project that contains residential units. The proposal generated considerable dialogue among the council members and the mayor. I would now like to comment on some of the statements that were made that night. It was very encouraging to hear that none of the council members intend to approve any residential pilots in the future. On the other hand, it was very discouraging to hear the mayor's statement that every project in the pipeline is asking for a pilot. When you think about the millions of dollars that developers save in taxes, this should come as no surprise. As you all stated before, you will vote to reject each of these pilots on a case-by-case basis. But do you really want to spend the time and the money necessary to defend each of these decisions in court? And for sure, you know that each developer who is rejected is going to bring suit. Considering that Stanbury got a $60 million tax break over 30 years, the developers have so much to gain and very little to lose. Wouldn't it be preferable to pass an ordinance that would save you from case-by-case litigation? Without a doubt, you would have to defend that ordinance in court. However, if the ordinance is upheld, you will have saved yourselves and the town a lot of time and a lot of money. At the same time, you will have established a piece of legislation that will serve as an example for every municipality in the state of New Jersey. On the downside, even if the courts invalidate your ordinance, you still have the fallback of fighting against each pilot on a case-by-case basis. So I ask you, for the good of Parsippany and perhaps the entire state of New Jersey, please pass something, an ordinance that I'm suggesting. Thank you.
Mr. Venezia, I have to correct your record. Yes, I did say that just about every developer came to us and asked for a pilot, but you left something out. We said no. We said no, and that they could not be part of our comprehensive COA plan with a pilot. That's it. Anyone that came to us knew, we said no. And any pilot that we had in the past was an agreement done a long time ago that the township had to honor. And we were able to take a pilot deal that was maybe not the best and at least turn it to a better advantage to Parsippany, where it was a 6% pilot before this council and myself got our hands on it. We turned it into a 12% pilot. I personally still am not completely enamored with the idea of pilots, but at least we took something and made it a little bit better. But going forward, I will tell you that this council and myself do not want any pilots. And right now, the comprehensive COA plan does not have any pilots in there other than the previous one. So why do you want to pass a law we don't need? Because I would ask you this. What if someone came to us? What if someone came to us and they had senior assisted housing and they needed a pilot, something that would not generate anything for any children, and that if this was not done, this would be very difficult for seniors to find any place. By the way, your 5 minutes are done, but
Okay.
I would want you to rethink something like that. And quite frankly, you either need to put your trust in the six of us or not. We handled this the best that we could, and bipartisan, all six of us worked together to get the best deal that we could.
It would be, if you passed this ordinance, it would be very easy to put in an exception for seniors or disability people. You know, if the entire unit was for seniors or disabled, they're exempted from the ordinance.
If you make a blanket ordinance, that handicaps us from using this at all for anything that is non-residential. I'm not for it right now. If you have an ordinance idea, why don't you write it up and send it to us and let us look at it? I'm sure it'll be mesmerizing.
All right, as long as you're gonna, as long as you're gonna do something with it, not just, placate.
Not going to placate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Council President?
Yes.
On the topic of the legal authority to pass such an ordinance, I think such an ordinance would be inconsistent with the provisions of the redevelopment law and probably the long-term property tax exemption law. The way the statute is structured, It's designed to allow the governing body the ability to consider the request. And passing an ordinance that would likely be challenged in court would probably cost the municipality money in defending an ordinance that it didn't have to be able to defend in court, and it would also seem to deprive future governing bodies at least of the ability to consider the request for a tax abatement if the request was made. So, I mean, the legislative authority of the township is somewhat limited, and it's derivative of its powers by state statute. And I don't find any authorization that would allow the municipality to pass an ordinance to prohibit something that the state law allows for. The proper consideration is given if an application is made and the governing body decides that the request for a tax exemption is inappropriate. Well, then the person who's made that request has the answer of the governing body.
Thank you.
And it avoids a potential challenge to an ordinance that we don't have to pass, and we probably don't have the legal authority to pass.
Council President, please.
Yes.
Mayor, didn't you tell us at some point you were working with Mrs. Sargent in regards to monies
Yes.
for the children? Has that been discussed?
Yes, it has.
A definite?
Yes,
that
it
we,
has.
Okay.
We can't necessarily pass a law or ruling on it, but this is something I had said I would do on the campaign trail, and I intend to keep this promise. Okay, no matter what anyone says about what my intentions are or anything, I intend to keep this promise. I would like the Board of Education to receive a dollar amount for each child that the Stanberry development generates towards the schools. I think it's one thing that does concern me about pilots, especially with ones that have a residential aspect to it, is that it generates school children that the school board is not getting any tax money for. So we've already sat down with them and made them that promise. There's I cannot speak to the legalese that Mr. Lott spoke about, that where it's difficult for us to do it, but it is something we do intend to do.
And through you, Council President, that is the exact way it's set up in both Woodbridge and Denville, where there's precedent for such an arrangement.
Okay, and this has been discussed with the Board of Education?
Absolutely, as I
Mrs.
said.
Sargent?
Yes.
And for the record, I support such an act of law.
Definitely.
Okay.
Thank
you,
you.
Councilman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman.
Thank you.
Drop the mic.
You're supposed to do that at the end.
Hello, anybody hear me?
No.
No.
I don't think it's on.
I'm terrible with this.
No, don't worry about it. Khalid, give the man a
I
hand.
don't think it's you.
Just tap the microphone a few times. Sometimes
Nope, not yet.
Use the microphone.
Hello?
There you go.
Hi, thank you.
Please state name and address.
Of course. Eric Densmore, 95 Marrow Road, Lake Hiawatha. I wanted to bring up sort of an issue. It's not a permanent issue, but it's something that greatly inconveniences the people in my apartment complex. I brought this up last year, not at a town council meeting, but to other officials, and that has to do with Knoll Gardens and what occurs on the Memorial Day parade every year, or every year that it's been in Lake Hiawatha. I even mentioned this to you, Chief, last year. 2 years ago, we had a situation where during the parade, no one could get in or out of the complex. I understand that you can't have people going in and out of North Beverwick Road, but there has to be a way on Knoll Road in the staging area, because as you know, people start staging on Catherine Drive, and that extends all the way up to Knoll Road past the golf course. People cannot get in and out. 2 years ago, we had an incident where my next door neighbor gets dialysis, and it was his day to go. He cannot walk. There's a transport ambulance that takes him to and from the appointment every couple of days, and the police officer would not let that transport ambulance through at the time that he was supposed to go. Last year, I spoke to the chief at one of the meetings. I was assured that this problem would be taken care of. I even spoke to, so I happen to live right on Mara, at the end of Mara Road, where Knoll Road meets it, and I spoke to the officer and I indicated to him, I'm having out-of-town company come in. They do not know the area. Is there going to be a way for them to get into the complex? And I was assured that there wasn't going to be a problem. Well, as I was sort of watching everything stage, a commanding officer to this other officer came along and indicated to him and ordered him nobody is to go in and out. Consequently, my out-of-town company had to wait in Boonton for over an hour while the parade went through. In addition, we also had other situations where there's a senior citizen I know of who can't drive anymore, and she uses Uber to get to and from. She had an appointment to someplace, and they wouldn't let her Uber driver in. And I'm not just talking about the staging area, I'm talking about the upper part of the complex too. It just seems to me, it's a big complex. There are 800 people that live in there. And you just can't take 800 people and leave them prisoner there for 3 or 4 hours while the parade takes place. I'm not knocking the parade. I love the parade. I go to it every year, but not everyone does go to it. And I think there needs to be a way, and that has to be communicated to the residents to get in and out of the complex.
Good points. Thank you.
That's
I'll
it.
report back to you. Your out-of-town guests, you took them to the parade, though.
Pardon me?
Your out-of-town guests, you took them to the parade?
I never had that opportunity. They were stuck in Boonton.
They were stuck in Boonton, all right. See, now we're limiting the ability of out-of-town guests to come to Beverwick Road and spend their out-of-town dollars at our businesses there. I have a problem with that. We're going to fix that. Okay? I'll get back to you. Chief will work on that, right?
Okay, see no one else come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
The floor is closed.
Mr. DePiero?
Ordinance 2019:28, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, creating Chapter 160, filming of the Code of Parsippany Troy Hills. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on May 14th, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 25th, 2019, at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached, at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk is authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:29, White Collar Salary Ordinance 2019. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on the first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on May 14th, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 25th, 2019 at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached, at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:30, an ordinance establishing salary ranges for the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills blue collar R and F employees 2019 to 2022. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on May 14th, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 25th, 2019 at 7 p.m. prevailing time or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:31. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, accepting the grant of utility easement over a portion of Block 25.4, Lot 1, on the official tax map of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at the meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on May 14th, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 25th, 2019 at 7 p.m. prevailing time or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning this ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Question, is this JCP&L?
No.
It is not. It is an easement for a water main, which is at, is it Crestview Apartments?
Got it, okay.
Right,
Thank you.
correct.
Second is needed.
Second.
Okay, so motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. Carriffy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:32. An ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, authorizing the acquisition of a portion of the property identified as Block 421, Lot 56, on the tax map of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills pursuant to the local land and buildings law. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on first reading at a meeting of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on May 14, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for a second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 25, 2019 at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Okay, so motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:13, bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the water utility in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $4,598,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $4,598,000 in bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof. Be it resolved that the above ordinance be introduced, read by title, and passed on the first reading at a meeting of the Town Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills held on May 14, 2019, and that said ordinance be further considered for second reading and final passage at a meeting to be held on June 25, 2019, at 7 p.m. prevailing time, or as soon thereafter as the matter may be reached at the municipal building in said township, at which time all persons interested shall be given an opportunity to be heard concerning said ordinance. Be it further resolved that the clerk be authorized and directed to advertise said ordinance with the notice of introduction thereof being published in the official newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Second reading and public hearing, ordinance 2019:11. Bond ordinance providing for various capital improvements in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $10,642,122, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $10,109,266 in bonds or notes of the Township to finance part of the cost thereof. Notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, an official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills on August 25th, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the April 16th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:11 be heard in its second and final reading only, reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
The floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one else?
See no one else, entertain a motion to close the public hearing?
Motion, sorry. Motion?
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title and second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:12. Bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the golf and recreation utility in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $205,391, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $205,391 bonds or notes of the Township to finance the cost thereof. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on April 25th, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the April 16th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept ordinance 2019:12 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:12 by myself.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is open to the public on this ordinance only.
I see no one come forward. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:12 by myself.
Second?
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
Yes.
Ms. Peterson,
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading, and a hearing held thereon. Now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:14. Bond ordinance providing for various improvements to the sewer utility in and by the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills in the County of Morris, New Jersey, appropriating $5,250,000, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $5,250,000 bonds or notes of the township to finance the cost thereof. Notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on April 25th, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the April 16th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:14 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Second. Sorry.
Okay, motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:14.
Second.
Who seconded that?
I did.
Okay, so, motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only. Seeing no one else?
Motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero? Ms.
Yes.
Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is closed.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the above resolution.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
All right, at this point, we have a series of zoning ordinances, nine to be exact, and in the interest of time, instead of going through each zoning ordinance individually, because if we did that, we would have everyone here till about 4 a.m. today. So instead, we decided to consolidate the ordinances. I'm going to read them by title, and then we will have one public hearing, and the public may comment on any ordinance they so choose. Okay?
That's correct, and I will note that each of the 9 ordinances that will be considered tonight arise from a 2014 master plan study of the planning board.
Yes, that is correct. All right, so I will begin. Ordinance number, just get this here. Okay, ordinance number 2019-15, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Township Code, repealing Article 32, alternative planned residential development 2 district. Ordinance 2019-16, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Township Code related to building height. Ordinance 2019:17, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Township Code related to corner lot setback requirements for accessory structures. Ordinance 2019-18, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Code of Parsippany Troy Hills related to critical slope area regulations. Ordinance 2019-19, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Township Code related to maximum driveway width. Ordinance 2019-20, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Code of Parsippany Troy Hills related to signage. Ordinance 2019-21, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Township Code related to permitted conditional uses in the R2M district.
Ordinance 2019-22, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending the general zoning map to rezone properties located at Block 391, lots 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 from the R3 Residential District to the B3 Local Business District, and amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Township Code. Ordinance 2019-23, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 430, zoning of the Code of Parsippany Troy Hills related to permitted conditional uses in the R3, R4, and R5 districts. The notices for the ordinance above were published in a daily record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on April 25th, 2019. These ordinances were introduced at the April 16th regular meeting. I need a motion to accept ordinances 2019:15 through 2019:23 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, public hearing 2019-15 through 2019-23. Motion to open the public hearing for ordinances 2019:15 through 2019:23. Need a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, the floor is open to the public on any one of these ordinances if they so choose.
Good. In that case, I'd like to commend the clerk for how expeditiously you did the reading of that ordinance. I recommend that you read every ordinance into the record. This way, these good people and this council can get home to their families in the evening. So, good job, clerk. That was very impressive. Reminded me
you,
of the
Mayor.
Federal Express commercials back in the day. Good job.
See no
Thank
one
you.
else come forward? Entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Just one question for our township planner before we close the public hearing. We have a recommendation for planning board that all the ordinances are consistent with the master plan?
That's correct. The planning board has determined that they are all consistent with the master plan.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very good. And again, does anybody have any comment on any of the 9 ordinances that have been introduced for public hearing tonight? Okay.
Okay, see no one come forward, entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Motion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, floor is closed. Whereas the above ordinances were read in title on second reading and a hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinances be passed on final reading and that notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. We need a motion to approve.
Motion.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ms. Peterson? Ms. McCarthy?
Ordinance 2019:24, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 290, Parks and Recreation Areas and Public Lands of the Code of the Parsippany Troy Hills. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on April 25th, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the April 16th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:24 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing 2019:24. Motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019-24.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only.
I see no one come forward. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:24.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:25, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending and supplementing Chapter 169 Fire Prevention of the Code of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills. The notice of the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on April 25th, 2019. The ordinance was introduced at the April 16th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:25 be heard in its second and final reading by title only.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Public hearing 2019:25, motion to open the public hearing for ordinance 2019:25.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Floor is open on this ordinance only.
See no one come forward, motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:25.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll
No,
call.
no.
Who seconded
McCarthy.
that? Sorry, I'm not looking and apologize. I'm on a roll here. Ms. McCarthy. So motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Just got to correct that here for the record. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Okay, floor is
Whereas
closed.
the above ordinance was read in title on second reading and the hearing held thereon, now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Ordinance 2019:26, an ordinance of the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, Morris County, New Jersey, amending Chapter 4, Administration of Government of the Code of Parsippany Troy Hills. The notice for the ordinance above was published in the Daily Record, the official newspaper of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills, on April 25th, 2019. This ordinance was introduced at the April 16th, 2019 regular meeting. Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:26 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
I'm sorry. What was that?
This is the ordinance, do you want to know the ordinance or do you want to know the
Yeah.
motion?
What's the ordinance?
The ordinance has to do with the Knoll Advisory Committee and basically having the power of appointment being shared between the mayor and the council, whereby the mayor would appoint 6 members and the council would appoint 6 members. At this point in time, we have a motion made by Ms. Grignani and a second by Mr. DePiero.
No.
Okay, so let's go back again. So Mr. DePiero,
Yes.
Ms. Grignani,
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy,
No.
Ms. Peterson,
No.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, so we have 3 yes votes, 2 no votes. This motion passes.
Motion to accept that ordinance 2019:26 be heard in its second and final reading by title only by myself.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Mr.
Wait, we just did that, right?
Yes, my mistake, I
This
apologize.
is for the public hearing.
Yes.
So we have a motion by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. DePiero. We can use the same motion, it's fine. Mr. DePiero?
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
The floor is open to the public on this ordinance only.
See no one come forward. Motion to close the public hearing for ordinance 2019:26.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani?
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy?
Yes.
Ms. Peterson?
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy?
Yes.
Motion passes. Floor is
Whereas-
closed.
whereas the above ordinance was read in title on second reading, and a hearing held thereon. Now therefore be it resolved that said ordinance be passed on final reading, and that a notice of final passage of said ordinance be published in the newspaper according to law. Motion to approve the resolution above by myself.
Second.
Okay, motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
no,
you can't
no,
vote.
no,
Yeah,
no.
you have to vote no. That's why I paused.
Yeah,
it.
right. Sorry.
Yeah. So,
Getting delirious.
Ms. McCarthy.
No.
Ms. Peterson.
No.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, so this motion, 3 votes to 2, motion passes.
Okay, non-consent agenda resolutions, none. Consent agenda, Mr. DePiero?
Consent agenda. Be it resolved that all items listed with an asterisk are routine and non-controversial by the Township Council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the agenda. Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. DePiero, seconded by Ms. Grignani. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Approval of payroll and bills list. CFO Ancucci recommends authorization for payment. Authorized payment of the April 19th, 2019 regular and miscellaneous payroll estimated at $1,600,000. Payment of bills from voucher list March 18th, 2019 through March 28th, 2019 totaling $2,709,017.96. Motion to approve the authorization for payment of the above.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. McCarthy, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act, PL 1975, Chapter 231, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas the Township Council is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, and whereas the Township Council wishes to discuss 1. Contract negotiations, Morris County Municipal Utilities Authority Water Supply Agreement. 2. Potential litigation, Aptiv. 3. Attorney-client privileged affordable housing settlement update. 4. Attorney-client privilege Carriffy litigation. And whereas minutes will be kept, and once the matter involving confidentiality of the above no longer requires confidentiality, the minutes can be made public. Now therefore be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Parsippany Troy Hills that the public be excluded from this meeting. Motion to adjourn into closed session.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Peterson, seconded by Mr. DePiero. Roll call, Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Mr. Carriffy.
Yes.
Okay, we're now going to adjourn in closed session. No action is expected to be taken. Go.
Make a motion to open the meeting.
Motion to open the meeting.
Second.
Second. Motion by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Ms. McCarthy.
Third.
Ms. Peterson. Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Okay. Now we need a motion to
Motion
adjourn.
to close to adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Grignani, seconded by Ms. Peterson. Roll call. Mr. DePiero.
Yes.
Ms. Grignani.
Yes.
Ms. McCarthy.
Yes.
Ms. Peterson.
Yes.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night. Good night. Stay well.
Have a good evening. What's
Stay
left of it?
here, right?